Hello, friends. It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of The Mindful CEO with our handsome co-host, Aaron Hendon. What's up, man?
I get handsome today.
Well, I feel
That's
like I've said that too many times. I don't want you to get a big head about yourself,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
but it's like looking in a mirror, so it's
There
all
you
good.
go. Now it comes. There it is. There it is. That's what I like. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Hey, man. All right. This is gonna be fun. Yeah. Do you ever lose something and you're like, where the fuck? I saw it the other day, and then you keep thinking, oh, it's just right there, and then it's not there. And
Yeah, it's been a
I have,
while, but
I
yes, I've
have,
had that.
I have that thing happening to me right now, and I wish that thing would just show up. And I don't know where. I know it's just gonna show up at some point, but that's one thing I don't have access to yet is having things that are lost show up.
Yeah.
That'd be a
Uh-huh.
good thing to practice. I'm down for practicing that. I could open the universe to that because that's a lot about what we want. We've been
Yeah.
talking about is thinning the veil and having the
Yeah.
next actions just show up. And I swear I am on. I don't even want to say I'm on a roll because that would imply that it's going to stop. Like at some
Uh-huh.
point it's going to stop, and at some point it stops. Oh my God, I had this thing happen, Chris. I didn't even mention this. I got a speeding ticket.
Nice.
Yeah, and I
Congratulations.
I was driving like an asshole, and I was driving. I was so not present
Mm.
that I passed the cop.
Mm.
Okay, so
That's great.
that's so
Oh,
he
God.
pulled me over, and then so not present that I turned without using a turn signal. So I got a ticket for speeding and not using a turn signal. And he came up to the car and he was like, driver's license, whatever. I was like, okay, well, I'm an ass. I literally said, I'm the asshole. I did this. It was like nothing. There was nothing going on but my being an asshole and driving like
Yeah.
an asshole. And I was, as he's takes my stuff and he goes back to his car to make sure that I'm not, you know,
Uh-huh.
have a warrant or something or whatever they do back there. I kept thinking, may you be well, may
Mm.
you be happy. He was just doing
Yeah.
loving kindness meditation in the car, waiting for him to come back. And I thought, oh my God, this would be the best story. If he doesn't give me a ticket, I will just be like, wow, meta really fucking works. This is unbelievable. Such a good
Tangible
story,
results of meta
tangible
meditation.
result about it, right? And it did not go that way. I got the $418 ticket
Mm.
anyway, and which is, I deserved. It wasn't. This is not a thing. Um, but the thing that Meta gave me, right, doing that was I'm just really complete about it. This is like I don't have this upset. I don't have this like
Yeah.
victim. I don't have, I got a speeding ticket. He didn't give me a speeding ticket. I got a
Mm.
speeding ticket. I did that.
Mm.
I
Mm.
did that.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and it left me. It didn't ruin my day. That kind of thing would normally ruin my day. If I find out I lost $400, my day is pretty much shot to fucking hell. I don't have like,
Mm.
oh, this is going to be a good day anyway.
Mm.
I don't have that in me, except I
Mm.
did have that in me because I didn't,
Mm.
you know, I did that.
Yeah.
Whatever happened there, was a function of my not being present. So I brought that up because, I was talking about being on a roll and that implies it's going to stop. And, maybe me getting a speeding ticket was, oh my God, I've fallen out of the vortex. And, you know, if I was really tapped in, I wouldn't get a speeding ticket or, like that's a bad thing that happened. Now bad things are going to start happening. Oh my God.
Mm.
That's the other
Mm.
shoe. I knew this couldn't last. All those conversations.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And,
Hmm.
and none of those conversations are there for me. It was like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. I was operating unconsciously and I got the result of operating unconsciously.
Mm.
That's not like some bad karma thing happened to me. I operated in an unconscious state. I was worried. I was stressed. I was rushing. I was trying to get somewhere that I wasn't. I was like trying to
Mm.
get somewhere. Is always where I am is not okay, and
Uh,
getting there will
uh,
be better.
mm.
So I need to speed to get there and save some time and all the bullshit ways of operating that I have, where you know that produce that result.
Mm. Mm.
And it just all disappeared as soon as I got pulled over. I was like, oh, and sometimes
Hmm.
that's the first time in my life. Actually, I'll just say it this way: that was the first time in my life that I can ever remember where the lights went on from the cop,
Yeah.
where my heart didn't sink.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Like I normally see the lights. I mean, that's the first ticket I've gotten in. I literally cannot remember the last time I got a ticket, which isn't a function of my memory. It's like I don't get speeding tickets. I just don't. Um,
Yeah.
but the lights go on behind me to go get, and I'm like,
Catch up
fuck,
to
I did
somebody
something
else. Yeah.
wrong. And my
Yeah. Yeah.
heart drops every time, every time. And, I mean, a lot of that is
I
training.
don't have to see the lights go on, bro. I can see them on the side of the road, and I'm like, "Oh shit, was I speeding?"
Right,
And I'll tap the brakes, and I'm already going the speed limit, but I'll be like, "Oh god, there's a cop!" Like, what do you know? Totally same thing.
right. And this is the first time it happened where it was like,
Mm.
oh, that's right.
Hmm.
That's right. I deserve this. This is
Mm.
completely an acceptable outcome for my actions. This is
Mm.
the appropriate
Uh-huh.
outcome for my actions. And I mean, and I don't know, how long does a speeding ticket take in your mind, like to get a ticket?
10 minutes?
Yeah, it was just like 10 minutes, right? I wound up not being late. I wound up getting everything I needed to get handled, and I took the extra 10 to 15 minutes to get the ticket.
Huh.
Right, like had I just driven the speed limit, I would have been completely fine.
Right.
Right, and it just didn't take me out of my day. Anyway, the where I was going with that was, um, I still have I still have energy on. Is this going to keep going? Is this fucking leg cramp? Whoa,
Oh no.
motherfucker! Whoa,
Oh man.
whoa! That snuck up on me.
May you be well. May
May,
you be
may
happy.
my
May
leg
your leg be at peace.
my leg be at peace. Whoa,
Wow.
that was good.
Better take some more magnesium.
Yeah, no shit. Okay, people. Yeah, this is how you know these podcasts are not edited, because that would be
We
fun.
prefer the authentic experience, as
Yeah,
if
we
you were
do.
here with us.
Yeah, because people get leg cramps. You ever get one of those that just sneaks up on you?
Not very much anymore, but
That's because you don't work out.
okay.
Okay,
Okay. Okay.
okay,
Okay.
okay, boomer. Uh,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but I still have energy on. Is this going to keep going? Like, in real estate, I'm about to have my best month in 3 years. July is going to be my best month in 3 years,
Wow.
and I've done fucking jack all in terms of
Mm-hmm.
lead gen to get that.
Uh-huh.
All I keep doing is this: the podcast and the mindful CEO stuff and the book, and I mean,
Mm.
I work the leads that come in and I do the
Of
work with
course.
them, and I'm good at what I do,
Yeah.
but I just don't have any energy on it. And I still have energy on, is this going to keep, is this going to last? And,
Hmm.
but not, I mean, and normally getting that speeding ticket, I would take as evidence for, okay,
Mm.
this is now time for that cycle, versus
Interesting.
sometimes good things happen. Sometimes things I don't like happen. Sometimes good things I like happen. Sometimes I don't like happen. And I'm just here. If I'm present and aware and in the moment, things are happening, and I'm going to keep stepping into the thing that feels the best and
Yeah.
do that. And that driving was a moment where I wasn't operating inside what feels
Yeah.
good, what feels right. I was operating inside of, there's something wrong and I got to get somewhere.
I hear a distinction between like I'm on a roll, as if like you're at the craps table and like you
Right.
just keep throwing lucky numbers, and then but it's going to end, versus being in the flow. I'm on a roll versus I'm being in the flow, and at any moment one being on a roll sounds like it's out of your control. Like
Yes.
this is about luck, this is about superstition, some other force is causing this to happen for me, versus being in flow is sort of your agency, your decision to be in the conditions that flow shows up in. And you're doing it through your meditation, you're doing it through mindfulness, like, even, so it's not like one, you're, I don't want to say control, right? Because that's actually foreshadowing our series coming up in the mastermind, but it's not like you're controlling it, but you're authoring the conditions for flow.
Yeah, I do think that you're. Yeah, I mean, okay, so that's it's an interesting thing about the word control, right? Like how
Yeah.
much control is control. You know,
Right, right.
yeah, it's I control the temperature by opening the window or
Yeah,
turning on
right.
the thermostat. That's control. I'm controlling that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm control. It's sort of like uh, God help me control the things I can and the wisdom to know the things I can't.
Yeah, serenity prayer.
Right,
Yeah.
like that. There's a level of control the controllables. That's sports players talk about this all the time. There's the
Right.
controllables. There's what I can actually impact, which is I can control my mind. I can actually control my mind. I practice every day.
Yeah.
You know, I sit whether I feel like it or not.
Mm,
I practice
mm, mm.
that. That's a
Yeah.
controllable,
Hmm.
and that creates a condition.
Yeah.
Every action creates a condition,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
Creates some space, that's left over after that action is taken. I don't think we talk about that very much. Like every action creates a condition or
Mm,
space.
mm, hmm.
Creates has some impact on the environment.
That's
I don't
good.
think we ever talk about that.
No, yeah, it's good though.
That's good, right? There's
Yeah.
something there, right? Like every action impacts the environment in some way. And
Mm,
I can definitely control my actions,
yeah.
which means I have access to the environment in which I operate. And in different environments will call forth. Wow, very New York. Call forth, call forth. Um, Different environments will call forth different elements,
Yeah.
different aspects, different will create a clearing. As we if we want to talk about clearings, um, and you can control that. What you can't control what's going to show up specifically.
Like the outcome.
Yeah, you can't control the outcome. You can control the conditions that make the outcome possible. And I think that's a whole
And
set.
some of the conditions you can control, others you can't. Some you
Yeah, you
can,
can't control
others
the
you can't. You
weather.
can't control whether it's raining or not raining.
Right.
Right, right. But you can control that you bring an umbrella, or you control the mindset in which you interpret that rain as, oh shit, it's raining, or oh look, the earth is being refreshed by water.
Oh, is this governor?
The rain in Spain. Oh God.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you definitely control your interpretation. You can control,
Yeah.
uh, the how you show up in those conditions. But there's always conditions you can't control, and it's the demand, the the
Mm,
part that tires us out, the part that's ineffective,
uh,
that
uh,
is killing us, is the demand to control things that you have no say about.
uh, yeah.
Or
Right. Right.
thinking
Right.
about thinking that you're supposed to control those things or that you need to control those things to have any kind of power.
Or that you can't control those. Yeah, all that. It reminds me of the Alchemist. Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
Just reminds me of, there's a knowing yourself as the one who shapes the conditions. That, like, that was the end of that story, right? Like that you know yourself as one who can create the conditions for flow. If you don't have that relationship to yourself, then you're always a victim of circumstance. You're always a victim of conditions. Oh God, it's raining. Oh God, I got pulled over by a cop. Oh God, I'm late for work. Oh God, like, it's always a reaction to a condition, and you don't know yourself as one who can shape it. So life is either happening, like, you're either on a roll. Oh God, I'm on a roll. I hope this doesn't stop. The other shoe's going to drop, right? Where life is happening to you, and the best you can hope for is that you have a streak of good luck. But if you are the alchemist, if you are the creator of conditions, if you're the one who's practicing mindfully adjusting yourself to be in a state of flow, then the world flows around you, and you're in a position to impact certain conditions, or at least your experience of those conditions.
Yeah, I think if you
I
can,
mean, I think that's what Alan Watts was. You sent me that video on Alan Watts. I think he often just kind of gets to the whole thing about how do you live in flow, wu wei, non striving.
right, in Buddhism, there's no place for effort.
In
Um,
Buddhism, there's no place for effort. Yeah, like,
yeah, that is Wu Wei. That is that whole effortless effort. It's that space of that, and I think, um,
hmm. Yeah, but does that mean author? Like, yeah, but there's still authorship. It may not be effort, but you're
right.
showing up in a way to author
Yeah,
your living.
yeah. I think the word effort there is a little dicey.
Be like hustle. There's
Yeah,
no place in Buddhism for hustle.
yeah, for struggle. I think
Yeah,
there's a
okay,
difference
yeah,
between effort and struggle. I think
sure.
effort is, I,
It's a paradox, man. We stumbled into a paradox again.
did
A
stumble in a
tension.
paradise, right?
It's a koan.
Well, I mean, I love the idea that um, paradoxes are a function of, or illuminate paradoxes illuminate where language falls short
Hmm.
in accurately creating or describing our as lived experience.
Hmm.
That a paradox shows where the shortcomings of language.
Yeah.
And you do have this shortcoming of the word effort
Mm.
in that idea. You've got to somehow distinguish effort as, does it take effort just to breathe?
All right.
Right? I mean, it does take effort to breathe. It takes your energy, and certainly it takes effort to let go of using effort in meditation. You've got to get yourself to the cushion, and you got to.
Yeah, that's
So
hilarious.
there's that space, and he's not
Right.
pointing to that. I think he's pointing to the difference between struggle and effort.
Yeah.
Like there's, so how we use, and then then there's the translation of words
Right.
from
Right.
Pali to Sanskrit to Chinese
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
Japanese to
Right.
English, and then what gets lost in the translation
Yeah.
of that,
Right.
right? You wind up
Right.
with bullshit like life is suffering, which is not really at all what the Buddha was out to um,
Hmm.
doesn't accurately capture the spirit of the communication.
Hmm.
Um, it, it, what we were going to talk about
Yeah.
before we collywombled my way into my
We
speaking
s-
pivot,
yeah.
um, but we can collywomble our way back to what
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
going to talk about,
Yeah.
uh, because I got struck the other day when in meditating.
Mm.
So you sit on your breath, you follow the breath, and then you catch yourself in thought,
Yeah.
and you come back to the breath. That's meditation, right? That's the if you're going to describe meditation, that's what it is. You catch yourself in thought, you come back to the breath, and there's just so much to sort out in this that I don't have this at all figured out. But so we first of all we go through life identifying ourselves as our thoughts, right? Certainly
Right.
pre-meditation. If you're not meditating, then you are your thoughts. You are your ego, your identity, um, charming, lazy, productive, handsome, fun, whatever, whatever.
Broke,
What's that?
rich, broke,
Broke,
rich.
rich, right? Whatever attributes you want to give yourself, you
Uh-huh.
are those. Who you are for yourself is those things, right? You practice meditating and you're not so sure.
Mm.
You
Hmm.
those things begin to lose their foothold in
Uh-huh.
identifying you, and you become not so sure that you are those things. You become, you know, those things become possible expressions of a you, but they're not you. They're
Right.
not like fixed, like you are a particular height, And that height we call 6'2" in this country, and you call it whatever you call it in centimeters in some other country.
Hmm.
It's not as good as this country, but nonetheless. So you, right, but there's
Yeah.
some way of measuring that, and nothing's really going to change that, although you shrink over time. But that's a characteristic that doesn't shift. But lazy, you weren't born lazy. You can't cut you open and see lazy DNA. Um,
Right.
but we identify as that, and so much of life is about what we identify and we identify as, and we know ourselves in these ways. And then you start meditating and you get that, oh, maybe I'm not that. Maybe I get to be the observer of that.
Mm.
I notice myself as that. I see
Mm.
Amy being that way. And the more you
Uh-huh.
practice separating yourself from your thoughts, stepping behind the waterfall, all the different metaphors for meditation that you want to
Yeah.
come up with, where you become distinct from the way that you operate, you become distinct from the way you identify yourself, you become distinct from your thoughts. There's a you that is noticing the thoughts, and the you that notices the thoughts
Mm.
catches yourself in thought and comes back to the breath, leaves the thoughts where they are, comes back to the breath, sits on the breath. And while you never notice you're going, you never notice the thoughts coming up, you notice them already being up.
Mm.
You don't catch you cannot catch the originating of the thought.
Uh-huh.
You only catch yourself in the middle of a thought.
Yeah.
And then you're
Right.
like, oh shit, that's me thinking again.
Uh-huh.
There's a me, and it's thinking this thought. And now
Right.
I'm just going to let it go and come back to the breath. And that
Mm.
muscle of separating the two is one way to define meditation. Not that it's just a side note. It's not about emptying the mind. You're not going to empty the mind. It's about catching yourself and coming back. And I got sort of thinking about, and I've done no work about this because I'm lazy and I'm busy and I'm not, going
Says
to
your thoughts about you.
says my thoughts about me.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I'm certain that there is some basis for this because I know this to be experientially true. And that's the thing about, we go back and talk about the river in a minute, but I don't, I, I don't have to question that which comes to me from meditation, because if it comes to me in that way, I, I know that it's true. I know that I'm not voting on it. It's like, that is how that is for me. Like I don't need validation from some other source about it. I'm like, yeah, that's the experience for me. And the experience for me is that I'm playing with, or that I'm beginning to notice, is who's the me that catches the thoughts. If I'm not my thoughts and I'm the me that catches the thoughts,
Uh-huh.
right? If I'm not my thoughts, if I'm not that which I think, and the I'm behind the waterfall. There's a me behind that waterfall, which again, like, I don't need any validation to tell me that that's the case. That is the case. I've experienced that. I can watch my thoughts. So who's the me that's watching the thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who am I beyond the thoughts? And it struck me the other day, like, well, maybe that me that's beyond the thoughts is, and why I have maybe the me that's behind the thoughts is just consciousness, not my consciousness, just
Mm.
consciousness,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
not my awareness, just awareness. It's not personal to me. The thing that makes it personal to me is the thought, is the waterfall. I'm not that waterfall. I'm not the thoughts that are cascading. I'm observing those thoughts. And if that me that's doing the observing isn't part of the thoughts, then the me that's observing is just awareness. It's just universal awareness, which would then go a long way to explain what being tapped in or being in the flow is,
Mm.
because I'm spending more time in that universal awareness, that it begins to seep through into the daily, because I'm no longer I'm thinning that veil of
Yeah.
separation between me and universal consciousness, which we're talking about as being in the flow versus being on a roll. It's
Right.
actually being in the flow. I'm actually in the flow of
Right. Right.
universal consciousness. And
Right. Right.
that's, you know, I mean, Esther would just say that's, that is, that doesn't have an end to it. That's, there's more to come than you could possibly ever receive. There's
Right.
being tapped in there. Um,
If I was just thinking, if I made this human for a minute, we're living on we have a 3D experience. We have jobs, we have families. We're like, we decided somehow to incarnate and play this game for
yep.
80 to 100 years. And I think there's some relevance in this observation you're having. That is, we often, this is again, it kind of speaks to the tension between CEO-ness and mindfulness. Like that, there is okay, well, I have a direction I want to head. There's a result I want to produce, and if we're trying to produce the results from the identity that we are our thoughts. I am lazy, I am rich, I am broke. Like we're limiting our access to consciousness. We're limiting our access to all
Mhm.
that could contribute to the result. And if you could thin the veil by recognizing that you're not your thoughts, you're not your thoughts. So there's the ego having thoughts, and then there's this other part of you that is watching those thoughts happen, and
Mhm.
you're thinning that veil and tapping into divine wisdom. You have access to more than you think you have access to if you can separate yourself from the meaning of the thoughts. I just think it matters. It could matter in terms of just your um, experience of your life. Well, you're not as stressed. You feel more love and gratitude, but it also could impact your experience of building your cathedral, creating your important work in the world, that you have access to divine wisdom that you otherwise wouldn't if you were stuck in the thought you're having. Does that make sense or no?
Yeah, say it. Just say it again.
Well, I just want to make it human because I think sometimes we can talk about, what's the point of talking about we're not our thoughts? Who cares if I'm having the thought or not having the thought or watching the waterfall of thoughts? What impact does that have on me? What does that observation? Why does that matter? And I think it
Mhm.
matters because each of us have set our life up to go do something with it, but we're limited if we're attached to the thoughts we're having. If we think we are our thoughts, we're limited to the tools and resources we have to create the life we want to create. But if you could step back and open yourself to what's beyond that veil, the resources you have to create a life that is unimaginable and magical
Right.
is exponentially greater because you're not given by the thoughts you keep having. I'm broke, I'm lazy, I'm stupid, I'm whatever.
Right. Even I'm wealthy, I'm smart, are
Right.
limiting
Yeah.
because they're defining, and I for sure. I mean, I think the utility, if that's, I think that's what I hear you talking about, is the utility
I
of
think
this.
so. Yeah.
It's giving a frame to what you know Esther or Joe or any law of attraction people talk about. Wallace Waddles. This is
Mm. Yeah.
just just read that quote because that just fits right into this. That's the
Yeah.
utility, is that you're tapping into what
Right.
Wallace Waddles is talking about when he talks about this. You read that quote earlier. I think it's a good quote.
Yeah. Yeah. This is by the way, it's like early 1900 stuff. So this is over 100 years ago, I think, when he wrote this. But the quote is, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. A person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. Yeah, I mean, if you don't know yourself as the one who can create a thought that creates a thing,
Right.
then all you ever get is thoughts giving you whatever the thoughts give you. You're not you're not controlling that. You're just
Yeah,
the
yeah, you're not at the source of that. You're
right.
at the
You're on a
effect.
roll. Not you're not in flow, you're on a roll. You're like,
That's
"Oh
right.
shit, I mean my thoughts are good right now. I hope I don't have a bad day. I hope I don't
Right.
get pulled over by a cop." And now my whole day just went to shit because circumstances happened to me and my thoughts took over.
Right. 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 And that has been the way, I still feel tentative in a lot of ways in this new reality of stepping. We've talked about this extensively, you and I, and probably on the show a bunch too. But I've had the experience of being in the flow where every time I step out, the universe puts the place for my foot to land.
Mm,
Like I don't have to,
mm,
I don't question the direction anymore because if it's there for me to do,
mm.
I know the
Yeah.
result is going to be the
Yeah, yeah.
right result. You can call it divine guidance, but that seems really airy fairy to me. So I don't often call it divine guidance. I
Yeah.
just, I say it just the way I said it. So every time I step out, I feel like the universe puts the place for my foot to land.
And that's
And
less airy fairy.
it, that doesn't sound less airy
Yeah.
fairy.
Got it. Good. All right, good.
Good. That's way more manly my way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most important thing in my life is that I don't occur as
Yeah.
not
That's right.
manly.
That's right.
And because that matters. Um,
Mm,
and I keep, but all those synchronicities, all those things that I keep coming up with, that then a month later comes back to me from someone else having said it.
uh-huh.
The title of the book, the Norman Fisher
Yeah.
thing with the Lojan slogans and my course, this thing about the river. you know
Right. Yeah.
so out of my meditation retreat, I got for myself in sorting through this thing about striving, I got the metaphor of a river. And then that was a month ago, 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, I don't know. and
Yeah.
uh, and then I just heard it in this Alan Watts thing. He uses the exact same metaphor in the exact same way,
Huh.
and I had never heard it,
Hmm.
but it came to me. And so stuff just comes to me because I'm very sounds very egotistical to say I'm tapped in to universal consciousness. It sounds way more ego
Yeah,
driven than
but
I would like it to be.
I mean that's so funny because that's almost like your ego saying that your ego I
Yeah,
mean because if you when you're tapped in, when you're it speaks to the question you had like who is the one
yeah,
observing me
yeah.
having the thoughts. And if it's consciousness, consciousness just knows that's how it works. It does.
Right.
There's no judgment about you being
That's
tapped
right.
in as better than something else. That's
That's right.
just true.
That's right.
That's just how it is.
Right. And that is just how that is for me. Is it's just that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I just am tapped in, and
Right.
anyone and then that's the whole point of the mastermind,
Yeah.
is after you've practiced meditation for a while, if you want to develop the capacity to reliably tap in,
Right.
it's there. The river is flowing. You can totally tap into it. And we're really
Right.
committed that people have that experience for themselves of being able to tap into it. I think that's a
Yeah.
great way to describe the mastermind.
Our mastermind,
Yeah, our
our mindful
mastermind.
CEO mastermind,
Yeah.
which those of you listening, if you are interested in that, the path to that would be to go through the how to live a grateful life in a fucked up world, or if you're a real estate agent, how to live a grateful life in a fucked up industry. Either of those 9 week programs are free, and they are the prerequisite to the having an invitation to the mastermind, because that creates the foundation for sort of
Yeah.
where we pick up in the mastermind. So
Great.
yeah.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap.
You want to wrap it there? Okay. All right. Well, it's a good cottywomple.
Yeah. I mean, unless you have
Um,
something else to add, I mean, we can keep going, but it
I
feels
don't. I mean, I don't. I think I was thinking about a title like being on a roll versus being in the flow feels like a way to sort of ground this into a distinction for people to listen to. But and maybe that's the a parting assignment or a parting piece of advice for everybody. Like if you're, there is a version of you that thinks that what's happening to you is because you're lazy, you're broke, you're rich, you're a hard worker, you're like whatever, and you're on a roll in life. Or you're on a good roll or a bad roll. You're like, shit keeps happening and I'm on a bad roll or I'm on a good roll. But all of this is just you being given by your thoughts.
Yeah.
And if you could create some separation from those through a practice like meditation, then you'd start to realize like stuff can happen all around you. And you have the ability, like Wallace Wattles said, to use your thoughts, to have a thinking stuff that actually creates the world you live in, not makes you a victim of the world you live in. And I think that's again, it just speaks to that tension of mindfulness and CEO-ness. Like this is the tension we live in when we're trying to be mindful about
Yeah.
how we create our life in a way that is magical and feels great to us. All right.
Good.
Those are my concluding thoughts.
Excellent. All right, good. Well, the next round of Living a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World starts on September 3rd. And you can hit that up at thegratefulbreath.com. And if you're a realtor, you can go to therealtorsedge.com. Same dates, different time. And
Yes.
check those out. Let us know if you have any questions. We're back next week.
Yeah. So
Okay.
good. All right, friends. Thanks for hanging out. If
Oh,
you like the
review.
show, pass it on to somebody, will you?
And review it.
And review it. We'll catch you next time.
Review. Stop what you're doing and give us a review. What's wrong with you? Don't make me come up there. I will pull
will
this
come up
car
there.
over. I will pull this car right over. All right.
All right, people. Thanks for hanging out.
Adios.
Peace.